Hello everyone and welcome back to an ASP.NET application development video. This is going to be a special errata for episode 15 where at the very end of that video, right as we hit stop, there was something Nelson noticed that needed to be addressed before we moved on. Nelson?
Yeah, I completely forgot about something very important. And if I go ahead and rebuild and rerun the application so it refreshes our scheme, I noticed that after the video we had some problems with our database. And you guys might have been wondering what these were, but you'll notice right here there's a user DTO ID. And that's because AutoMapper uses the class name to determine the column property on the corresponding, well, it's not really an XML mapping, but the underlying mapping of an Hibernate. And it automatically generates that column name based off of the class we're mapping to. And if you'll notice in the address class, we're mapping to a user DTO. So NHibernate's picking up on that and then giving us a user DTO ID column, which is then automatically generated by the DDL2H or HBM2DDL code in NHibernate. So to resolve that, what we actually have to do is tell AutoMapper to pick up on the properties, or no, on the relationships, and make sure that it correctly identifies the class name to use as an association. So yeah, we're going to be dealing with the has many and the reference associations, and we're going to add in code that detects the use table name of attribute and correctly identifies the property name to give it. So to start off, we have to create a new convention builder thingy. I don't really like these things, but convention builder has many when, and then we're going to say after TeamViewer stops injecting random control keys, we're going to say, whoa, now that is new. What is going on? Is that synergy? Oh, there it goes. Something stuck a control key. Alrighty, so we need to do c.expect I, and then now the predicate is going to actually delegate to a method that we haven't created yet called requires custom property name, and then we're going to pass in i.entityType. And then I'm going to write the method in a second, but the second argument to this method is going to be C, and then C dot. Of course, IntelliSense isn't going to work properly until we write this method name, so I'm going to go ahead and stub this out. Control Enter, Enter. And of course, it incorrectly identifies the return type, which should be a Boolean. And just to make ReSharper happy, I'm going to make this static. If I can spell twice. And now we get IntelliSense, so we can do relationship, or key.column, and then we're going to pass in get custom property name, and then c.relationship.entityType. So these two methods are going to be pretty straightforward. All they're going to do is detect, well, the first one's going to detect if it requires a, I'm going to swap these around real fast. The first one is going to detect if it requires a custom attribute or a custom name. So it's going to be return entity type dot get custom attributes type of use table name of attribute false any. Okay, so this will say we are going to require a custom property name if the entity type contains a use table name of attribute, and if it does, we're going to first get the custom attribute out. So entity type dot get custom attribute type of use table name of attribute false single, and then in addition to doing single, I'm just going to cast this directly, not using the as operator, because this really should never fail. If it failed, we have a problem elsewhere, because this code should only be executed if it's already detected that it requires a custom property name. So then we're just going to return adder dot use table name of dot entity, or sorry, name plus underscore ID. Subtlefix has many, and now let's go ahead and fix references. And that's just a matter of changing this, and changing this, and changing this. So now these two relationship types will properly identify the column name that they need to have. And to test that, I'm going to go ahead into my database, and I'm going to delete out these two tables. Drop table, apply, finish. Delete this table, drop table, apply, finish. And then I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to rebuild, Control-Shift-B, and then refresh. And we'll get a 404, but the code should have automatically generated the table names for us. And then we can test that by refresh all. We get our tables, and we get just a user ID. And I can go ahead and test that this relationship is working. Previously, I don't know why I didn't notice this, but the actual index create user is going to go ahead and create a user with an address, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And now show users should show me with my addresses. So you can see, and if you remember from the previous video, our code is using, our reading code is using the DTO, whereas our writing code is using the domain object.
Right. Cool.
So yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, and that will wrap up this errata.